What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome to the start of Season 2 of my F1 2017 mod career mode here. Today, we're going to be starting the season off, and we're going to be driving as Esteban Ocon in his Force India car, the pink Force India for 2017. There was a lot of different comments for a lot of different teams, but in the end, I thought I'd choose a team that I haven't actually ever done a career mode in, the Force India, and I'm going to be driving as the youngster Esteban Ocon against the more senior teammate Sergio Perez, so I think that'll be a nice little battle, hopefully, because in real life, Esteban and Sergio are always very, very close together on track. We've seen them come together a little bit in Baku, obviously, and came to a few little team orders in Canada. So hopefully the same thing can happen this season. We can have a really nice battle with Sergio. And I picked Force India as well because it's a really nice car to be in, because it's maybe not as fast to obviously challenge the top guys, but we could hopefully be challenging the Red Bull from time to time. And we'll also have to keep on looking behind us for the Williams car, and obviously even the Toro, Rosso and the Haas and the Renault on his day potentially. So we'll have to see. So yeah, Esteban Ocon in the Force India. I'm looking forward to this one. I hope you guys are as well. But we're here for episode number 1 at the Australian Grand Prix, obviously for round 1 qualifying. Didn't do so well as I'm normally used to in the Ferrari car, obviously of season 1 with Raikkonen. We qualified P11 there, struggling a little bit to get to grips with the Force India. But you can see there it's going to be a wet race here for the first round, or at least starting as a wet race on intermediate tyres. So hopefully we can make up some ground in the opening few laps here in the Force India. But you can see, just look at that, just such a different look, isn't it, the pink Force India compared to that red Ferrari car. But we're going to get straight into this then. It's a new season, we've got a new car, and it's an all-new challenge here as we go to 5 red lights to the Australian Grand Prix. Season 2 kicks off, 5 lights are out, and we're underway. Stroll gets a great start there on the right-hand side. We get a pretty decent one to try and maybe overtake Romain Grosjean into turn 1, but going into turn 1, Carlos Sainz steams it down the inside. I lock up a little bit. I have to avoid Carlos Sainz on the inside, so that means I lose a position there, and we go down to P12 as Grosjean gets away. It looks like it's a 1-2 for Ferrari, followed by the 2 Mercedes and then the 2 Red Bull cars as we're trying to maybe chase down and re-overtake Carlos Sainz. We've got Nico Hülkenberg down my inside, right up my gearbox. We go down the inside of Carlos Sainz. Not going to work out for us as we tried to make a little bit of a dive bomb move, but Carlos Sainz had that covered off, so we stay in P12 and we'll have to try and just shimmy on through this first lap and try and close up later on if we can. So we move on towards lap 2 into turn 1, and you can see a bit of action there as Grosjean tries to overtake Lance Stroll round the outside brilliantly there, round the outside of turn 2. Awesome stuff there from Romain Grosjean. He's got the young Canadian there, and in doing so, he's held up Carlos Sainz, and so now we can go down the inside as Stroll tries to re-overtake Grosjean, so we all go side by side. It's all very, very close stuff as Stroll manages to hang it around the outside of the Frenchman as we've got the position on Carlos Sainz. We can see they still go side by side. Stroll's going to squeeze Grosjean out a little bit on the curb there on the left-hand side, so that means we go side by side with Grosjean in the Haas car. Can we try and get it down the inside as we enter towards Sector 2? It's very, very close stuff. Our left tyre so close to his side pod on the right hand side. We're going to leave him in the room on the left hand side, but we should just about have this as we go into the next corner. We'll have the inside line, and we will eventually get Romain Grosjean's spot there and go up into the top 10. And so now we've got a bit of a big gap there towards Stroll now. As you can see, the amount of fighting I was just doing there between Sainz and Grosjean has lost us a bit of time there. As you can see, Grosjean does try to actually come back at us, and we do just have to defend a little bit into the high-speed chicane, but no qualms there on the exit though. Maybe he comes back again. He's going to have a look on the right-hand side. I leave him the space, and yet again, he's just unable to have the legs on my obviously Mercedes-powered Force India. So now can we try and just close up on Stroll there? There's quite a sizable gap, so it may take us some time as I'm still getting used to this car. And obviously at the same time, it's nothing like the Ferrari of last season. That Ferrari car I had in season 1 with Raikkonen was definitely probably the fastest car over the entire course of the season, whereas the Force India, definitely not. Going to have to be a bit more tentative with the moves I make. I won't have the downforce to just plant the power mid-corner to try and overtake someone. The Force India, definitely a bit more of a finer edge car. You're basically battling the car on the edge to basically push the car through the corner and make the overtakes there. And on that sort of note, while we're just trying to close up on Lance Stroll, it takes us to lap 5 to really try and close up. You can see through turn 1, getting dirty air and just unable to really close up as much as I want to get the nose to the gearbox of that Williams car, and having to go a little bit opposite lock and chop away at the steering wheel. So while we're just doing that, trying to close up, and pretty much like a 2017 S sort of battle, just we're both pushing very, very hard to close up to each other. I just want to kind of address a few little issues we had from at the end of Season 2. In the finale, of course, it was a ding-dong battle with Sebastian Vettel, and there was a fair few comments kind of basically just criticising how aggressive I was being with Sebastian Vettel, and I do realise how aggressive that was. Basically, I found that actually quite funny because most of the time, especially in My Driver, I get more comments of people saying I'm too kind to the AI most of the time. I give them a lot of room in My Driver, I'll admit, but that's because I like to treat them like they're real-life drivers in My Driver, because that's the whole point of My Driver. I'm trying to make it as immersive as possible in the series, whereas this career mode, the 2017 mods, I said it from the start of the Raikkonen career mode, it's a very bog-standard, simple career mode that I can do very, very easily, and I don't treat it as if they're real drivers. I just play it like it's a game, basically. But I do realise it was quite aggressive in the finale. I made it like that on purpose because I'm going to be honest, I was very, very confident in myself around Abu Dhabi. That Ferrari car was absolutely monstrous around there, and I was very, very confident I could beat Vettel easily at Abu Dhabi. So I thought, you know what, let's have a bit of fun in the finale. Let's actually have some fun during the race, and let's battle him. And it was for me personally, it was a lot of fun having a ding-dong battle, and it was just fun to kind of play around with him going side by side. I do get maybe that wasn't to everyone's taste, but at the same time, I found it quite funny that for the first time in a while, people, seemingly people must have clicked on that video, and that's like the first video they've watched of mine in a while, and they just assumed, oh, he's just driving like that the entire time, whereas most of the time, people say I drive way too kindly to the AI in My Driver, so I found that quite funny. But, obviously, as I said, being in the Force India, I can't afford to take any pace I have for granted. Basically, I have to basically drive like I sort of do in My Driver, flat out, and I have to push as hard as I can every single lap in the Force India, because it's going to be very difficult to overtake cars, because there's not that instant downforce like there was with the Ferrari. Like when I was driving the Ferrari last season, there was just its instant downforce you could feel mid-corner, whereas this Force India, like I mentioned, it's just on a knife edge here. So as we close up to Stroll here, finally, as you can see also, just in the background, that shot there was also Perez closing up with the other Williams car. So both me and Sergio, both trying to overtake a Williams, respectively. I'm trying Stroll, he's trying Massa, and here we go, on towards lap 8. Finally, do we have enough pace down the back straight, down the main straight, I should say, through the final corner, down the inside of turn 1. Stroll's going to try his best to go around the outside. I leave in the room, and we go down the inside, and we're up into now what will be, I think that's P8 there. And now you can see there's a huge gap after Stroll to what will be then, I think, Felipe Massa, as Sergio Perez has also successfully overtaken his Williams car. And so now as we close up to lap 12, it won't be actually, I was mistaken, Perez is still there behind Felipe Massa, but we have closed up, but it's taken us another few laps to really close up to Sergio Perez, and by lap 13, we're still pretty much the same distance away, locking up a tad. Pascal Wehrlein, though, is out of this Grand Prix there, so the Sauber car having an engine failure, I'm guessing, whereas we have a virtual safety car called that, so no full safety car, so okay, that'll be a little bit interesting. So it just means we're all kind of neutralized a little bit, and the race kind of stays the same in terms of the gaps. But here is why Pascal Wehrlein does indeed get an engine failure, and he's going to park up actually in the same place that a lot of people end up parking up at Australia. So quite nice there, actually. The AI parked up in the same place we see so many cars parking up in the real life season when they kind of go out of the Grand Prix. I think it was I can't exactly remember if there was a car in 2017. I want to say there definitely was in that same place of the track. But anyway, we try and now close up to Sergio Perez, who's also chasing down Felipe Massa. But Perez, oh no! Oh, Perez has got an engine failure as well. So calamities here, a lot of unreliability in this race at the moment. But our teammates going up in flames. We've got yellow flags, and Perez almost kind of blocks me into the far chicane. I had to slow down now. I was so confused at what was happening. I didn't know where Perez was going to go. If he's going to go left, right, and he almost kind of drove into me. So our teammate Sergio Perez out of the Australian Grand Prix with an engine failure, and so I'm the sole Force India flying the pink flag for the team here on lap 14. So very, very unfortunate for Perez, and I lock up a little bit. I'm losing some grip now on the intermediates there, and you can see I'm just losing the kind of back end completely, trying to recompose myself, because to be honest, I was completely put off by Perez being out of that Grand Prix, because I had to slow down. I think that kind of deheated my tyres a little bit. That's not really a word, but it kind of, I lost some temperature in my tyres, so that's why I was making a few mistakes there on towards lap 15. But Perez unfortunately out of the Grand Prix, so I'm going to have to try and fend and try and fight the Williams cars if I can by myself now. I can't use a bit of teamwork there. But as we move on to lap 16 now, you can see I've moved up into P5 because Verstappen, and I think both the Red Bull cars have pit, and also Felipe Massa has pit. You can see Bottas has made a pit stop, and he's come out ahead of us after making a pit stop. So you can just see how good the Mercedes and Ferrari cars are compared to the rest of us, and I can feel the growing pains of the real-life drivers. You know, Romain Grosjean at the Austrian Grand Prix said he was the winner of the Austrian Grand Prix 2 because the top runners are so far ahead of the midfield pack, and I can feel his pain now because Bottas made an entire pit stop and was ahead of me still. But we move on to lap 18 now. We're still in 5th place. Verstappen and Ricciardo and Felipe Massa, I believe, have all made pit stops onto another set of inters. I'm continuing on. My tyre wear's not too bad. I mean, I was put off a little bit previously when Perez went out, but that wasn't due to tyre. I think that was just, as I said, due to tyre heating. But from what we know of the weather telemetry that you get at the very start of the Grand Prix when you're doing your race strategy, I think it may be getting to dry at the end of the race. So I'm going to basically take these tyres as long as I can, and we take them all the way still to lap 24. You can see the tyre wear there on the right-hand side briefly as I go through the heads-up display menu. You can see I've set on the Ultra Softs. I've said box this lap to my engineer because I think it's now time for the Ultra Softs. I'm losing so much pace now on these inters, but you can see I'm still in P5. The two Red Bull cars aren't too far behind, so they have actually been catching us, obviously, but because they lost an entire pit stop time, which is what, around 20 seconds at Australia, they've had so much time to make up, and they are catching me there. You can see they were just there in the background there of that panning shot from the replay camera. But now as we come through to the second last corner, we are going to make a pit stop for ultra soft tyres now, so we have completely just literally missed out one entire pit stop for a second set of intermediates. We're going straight onto the dries. The two Red Bull cars, funnily enough, continue onto their intermediate tyres, so they don't think it's time yet for the dry tyres, which is very interesting. But we're coming in for our one and only pit stop of this Grand Prix onto a set of purple Ultra Softs, and now we'll go to the end of the Grand Prix with only 5 laps left, and we're just going to get the hammer down and push as hard as we can, and we can really gain some good time here, because I definitely think it is time for the dry tyres this lap. I think the two Red Bull cars have made a mistake here, and I think it's time for the dries right now. So I'm going to get the hammer down, and we can really gain some time with them. So when they do come in for the pit stop, we're going to be well ahead of them, and we could basically be finding ourselves in a very, very good P5, which in the Force India and the pace that the Red Bull guys and the Mercedes guys and Ferrari guys showed this weekend, it would be absolutely fantastic for us to get into P5 to beat the two Red Bull cars. And of course, at this stage, we've already we've well and truly jumped Lance Stroll and Felipe Massa already, obviously, because of the pit stop phases. But it's really now we can jump the two Red Bull cars. But as we move on to lap 27, I've set the fast lap of the Grand Prix with Esteban Ocon, so that's not something you'll see too often in the real-life Grand Prix. But the two Red Bull cars yet to pit now in this lap. So we're on lap 27. We've only got 3 laps left in this Grand Prix, and the entire field is not pitting yet, which makes me think now, I don't think anyone's going to pit. I think everyone is going to go to the end on inters, because they think there's just no point pitting now. It's too late to pit. So now I really have to get the hammer down, because I know I can have the pace to catch the Red Bull cars, but it's a case of if I can by the end of the race. But here we go. We're rapidly chasing down Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen. You can see this lovely little shot here of the two Red Bull cars going very slow on inters, and I'm catching them at a rate of knots here on the Ultra Softs. We're on lap 28. We're going on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix, and only now have we caught the back of Daniel Ricciardo. But as we go through the final corner, very apparent to how much lack of grip they have on intermediates. But it's a gamble the entire grid have taken, but it's one that I haven't. I've gone to the Ultra Softs, and here we go. We're overtaking Ricciardo. So another fast lap of the Grand Prix. Ricciardo does actually try to come back at us. We defend well into turn 1, give him the room, but we do keep the place on P6. And so now we're going to try and get the slipstream of Max Verstappen. It should be a futile effort for Max to really defend from us, because he's going to have such a lack of grip on the inters. And so we go down the inside of him, and we are up into P5 of the Australian Grand Prix. And so as we go through to the next sector, we're well and truly confidently into P5. I don't think we'll be getting caught here. And so we move on to the end of the Grand Prix. Looking at the top field, these 4 in a world of their own. It's Kimi Raikkonen to lead the Australian Grand Prix, coming through in the final lap against from Sebastian Vettel, then Lewis Hamilton in 3rd place, and then Valtteri Bottas in 4th. These 4 in a world of their own. So it's going to be around the final bend for Kimi Raikkonen to win the Australian Grand Prix. So just like I did with Raikkonen in the first race of Season 1, Raikkonen's AI car comes through to win the Australian Grand Prix. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari car, but it doesn't really matter for us. We're only worried about ourselves. Obviously, Perez out of this Grand Prix, so we're the only ones flying the pink flag. And so as we come through the final corner, it's going to be, in my opinion, a very, very hard-earned and well-fought 5th place here at the Australian Grand Prix. An absolutely fantastic way to start Season 2. I weave around, enjoy, because it's deserved. You know, that's not a place where the Force India should be getting in the Australian Grand Prix to kick off the season. So that's a fantastic result for us with Esteban Ocon. We've done him proud there to get ahead. Obviously, you know, with Perez's engine failure, we're the only ones scoring points for the team. So we won't get ahead of Red Bull, I don't think, in the constructors, but we've done a decent job to kick off the season in a great way. But you can see the gap there to the top 4 so big. But that's what I mean by the Force India car being a very good car to be in, I think. We're able to maybe challenge the Red Bull cars if we are clever enough on the strategy, but at the same time, you saw also, I was finding it difficult to keep ahead and overtake the Williams cars, and even I had to do some overtaking on the Haas and the Toro Rosso cars, so I think it's going to be a great car to be in, really, in terms of it's going to be a very different fight to what we had last season. Last season, it was at times a little bit kind of mundane in terms of we're always just fighting Vettel or Hamilton, and it was, a little, pretty much quite guaranteed we'd always get a podium pretty much near enough. But in the Force India, we're going to have to really work at it. We're going to need miracles if we do anything like that. But P5 in itself is a miracle, I feel, to get a P5 here at the Australian Grand Prix. And you can see this is what I meant by the constructors. Because Perez did not score points, unfortunately, even with 5th place, we're still behind Red Bull by 4 points in the championship to kick things off in round 1. But still, that's a great result. So guys, if you did enjoy the episode, smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you're around here, do get subscribed for weekly F1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.